Hello, I'm Spooty Biscuit,
I'm RoyalGoof.
and this is our commentated run submission for single character Link for AGDQ 2020. Um, and we highly recommend that if you choose to accept this category, you do it as a donation war with the other two single character modes. The single character mode cuts out a small part of the run compared to story mode. Um, but isn't all that much different for the most part. So, and story mode's the most popular run category. So, single character, a single character war would make us a good alternative of option. Single character will be between Link, Zelda, and Cadence. Would make a good bid war. Other options you can also include for donation incentives is the seed number. Assuming that we are doing a race, we will be playing on seeded mode. Normally we just use a randomly generated number, but the seed can be any alphanumeric characters, so could include a donation incentive to decide on what seed we'd be running. We would be running it blind either way, as it is kind of the point, being a roguelike with randomly generated worlds, that we run it blind. Anyway, I think we are ready to go ahead and start. If you're ready, Goof, I will start the playback on 3, 2, 1, go. So, single character Link kind of showcases a character you don't really see much action in the normal story mode run. Story mode, for the most part, primarily uses Zelda. She's generally considered the best character, and also gets a better starting position more central to the map. Link's house is kind of towards the southern boundary of the world, and just a little less convenient to get everywhere. But he can still go just about as fast, because beyond his unique weapon type and his starting location, he plays pretty similarly.
Since there was a little bit of a difference there, so usually when you don't have a shovel or a torch, enemies will pretty likely drop those. So I actually decided to kill the Octorok before getting the shovel, and he managed to drop one there. But if you don't, you can just go into the Cadence cave like Spooty did, and Cadence will that cave will have a shovel and a torch behind it.
Yeah, so this is a Cadence cave. The Cadence caves have some basic like techniques and items. The first Cadence cave you visit will always give you the loot, which is the fast travel option. Lets you warp to any previously activated Sheikah Stone, which you'll find throughout the world. Saves us a lot of travel time compared to walking. And as I mentioned before, while the worlds are randomly generated, there are some set pieces that have consistent items. So I head for that fountain right there because I know it has the valuable Torch of Wisdom, which will reveal the contents of all chests, even if you're not anywhere near them. Makes it easy to find good items in dungeons and on the overworld.
Also, this little hut here that has a key. Both of us are going to go for that. There are some set pieces that will have a key in the overworld. Getting extra keys throughout the overworld is really nice.
Yeah, it's worth noting that we would have gone for that either way, even if we didn't have the Torch of Wisdom, because it is one of those consistent set pieces that will always have a key. And you need a key for every dungeon, and you need 3 for the Hyrule Castle dungeon. So it's important to collect keys whenever they're convenient. You also saw me activate the Sheikah Stone in front of the Goron shop a little while ago. That's going to be important later. Getting a little damage boost off of that exploding Armos statue.
I also hit a Sheikah Stone to warp back to later a certain set piece that has hover boots. So though I didn't hit it to get the hover boots, I mostly hit it for travel to the north side of the overworld later on.
And back there, getting the Power Glove, a valuable piece of equipment for a number of dungeon skips. But also using it immediately to dupe the bombs in the pot right there. There's a little bit of a bug known as item duping, where if a pot or container has an item in it, if you throw it against a wall and attack it before it lands, it'll drop its contents twice. So lets me double up on bombs there. So, second Cadence cave here, you can tell which one it is because it has the red banner. It'll be one of the 4 caves at random in the Garuda Desert. Lets us get the spin attack, Link's trademark move. It's useful in this run for a number of purposes. It does knockback to push dangerous enemies away. Also deals bonus damage compared to the strength of your weapon. So can be used for some quick kills on occasion. But yeah, going to activate that Sheikah Stone in front of the Garuda Ruins dungeon and leave for now, because there's still some equipment I need to collect. Normally you're supposed to go to all the caves surrounding that dungeon and pick up gears to raise the bridge, but that's very slow and there are ways to skip it, so...
I am moving to the Zora cave here to wake up the Zora Prince. There's an evil spirit here that's keeping him asleep. You can tell which one it is by which of those evil Zoras don't have a shadow. I am granted the Zora Flippers, which will allow me to swim in water and let me get to Frozen Grotto, as well as is useful for the Garuda Ruins gear skip after getting the Goron Locket, which will allow me to swim in lava.
Yeah, it's worth noting that we don't really actually need the flippers to get to Frozen Grotto. There are a number of ways to clear the gap to the dungeon entrance here. It's more importantly used to skip the Garuda Ruins entrance. Speaking of which, I killed Freddy on the overworld back there a little while ago. Killing Freddy gives you a coupon, which you can use to get a free item in any shop. You generally wanted to make it a shop that is not owned by Freddy, because Freddy is not happy with you if you decide to kill him for a coupon, and will attack you when you try and use the coupon. But in the Goron shop, you can just get the item for free. And that expensive 200 rupee Goron locket that's needed for the Gerudo Mine skip is the ideal purchase.
Yeah. You also see Spoody and I did a skip to skip the first floor of Frozen Grotto, where pushing that ice block and then grabbing it with the power glove will allow us to stop and then walk toward the second dungeon, or second floor of the dungeon. Now I pick up the purple chest. It says a one permanent item, and I get the tower shield, which will upgrade the regular shield, which reflects regular projectile, basic projectiles, and the tower shield will allow it to reflect certain things like Wizrobe spells, as well as is useful for blocking or for a dungeon skip later on.
Yeah, also worth mentioning, I've been picking up a few glass weapons here. Glass weapons are the most powerful weapon type in the game. They deal 3 damage at 3 damage base, but they will break if you take damage, so it's a high risk, high reward. And
so both of us take care. It was Robo there.
Yeah, and I take the Boots of Power there, because, the longsword is decent infused target, but I have a few glass weapons, so a few backups in case I take hits, so I'm just fine with running the glass. But yeah, we're seeing a little bit of a divergence here, because, Goof got a flail, which is arguably most likely the best weapon in most situations for Link, as you can move and attack with it at the same time. So a little bit of a detour here. It seems pretty time-consuming for him to go all the way here into this secret vault in the back of Hyrule Castle to convert his basic flail into an obsidian flail, but in terms of the overall run, it's well worth the time investment, because now that flail, assuming he hasn't taken damage or dropped a beat recently, will always be dealing 3 damage.
Yes. Now I'm making my way, both of us are making our way towards north of the overworld, so we can get to... Well, first of all, we're both going for the for Lost Woods. There's an extra key for Spoody there, and that poison pond. Yeah,
actually don't go for it, because I'm running a bunch of glass equipment. The glass ring I have equipped keeps all items from degrading, and will also protect your glass weapons if you take damage. If you take damage with the glass ring, it will break before any glass equipment. And going to the poison pond there would cost me the glass ring and force me to temporarily unequip my glass weapon. So I just skipped the key, just in the interest of keeping all the glass safe.
I do go for the poison pond key since I don't have glass, and the only bad thing that really happened is that I lose my multiplier, but I can gain that back just by killing a few enemies. Also, you get the shield technique there. It's not too useful, but it allows you to attack with your shield up.
Yeah, ordinarily Link can only kind of push enemies as long as you're holding that R button to hold the shield up, but with the shield technique. You can attack with it, although it does invalidate a certain skip later, but since we have the tower shield, that's an alternative way to take care of the Temple of Storm skip, so it's no big deal here.
You're gonna see both Spoody and I do skip Death Mountain by the way Spoody did it was that he walks or managed to pull that wind turbine down and then walk into the next screen where the wind turbine would normally be, and it actually despawns it.
Yeah, that said, we didn't really need to do that because with the tower shield, again, we could just block the wind and walk through. So, yeah, taking a little moment to remember that we have the tower shield, but not too much of a time loss. Yeah, one of the hardest parts of running this and running Necromancer is just being consistently aware of which items you do and don't have. Build awareness. It can be a little tricky sometimes. And
you see me do the same thing here for Temple Storm, hold the tower shield up.
And yeah, here we're you saw me kind of playing it really cautiously around that Beery. Beeries are the bane of flails because you do not want to attack them while they're electric. They'll deal damage to you and stun you. And the flail has a very long range, so you can accidentally attack a Beery without intending to do so. Gotta be very careful about that.
Both of us moving through this box key room. It's usually surrounded by these tiles that will, these little like trapdoors that will go up and down.
And yeah, Gliokenspiel fight here. That high damage glass flail with the +1 damage from the Boots of Power makes pretty quick work of it, in addition to using bomb shoes at the start. Goof having a little bit more trouble with this fight, getting a little off the rails here. This fight can be very chaotic if you're not careful. And yeah, taking damage means that the damage boost on that Obsidian Flail goes away, and it's doing 1 damage until he can get a kill. Gets a little scary there, but manages to clutch it out.
Yeah, I only used 2 bomb shoes there. I usually use 3, which will kill those Gleok heads, but I didn't do it there, and got a little hectic. I also pick up the War Drum. I don't end up using it, but what it does do is use it, and it buffers beats as well as increases damage.
Yeah, it can be useful in the Octavo fight later in the run to make sure you are taking care of phases in 1 hit. And right here, I'm just gonna utilize a little strat here. Kind of went the opposite way from the exit of the dungeon. It's gonna be a long trek to the exit, so I just use the loot to warp back to the entrance. Every time you do that, the dungeon floors regenerate. So was hoping that I'd get a floor with the exit a little bit closer, and I do with the help of that portal.
I do not do this. I do go kind of meander a little bit and kind of trying to look for the exit. Eventually I find it. It's down here.
And we got base Guitarmos Knights here. This fight is a lot more difficult if you don't have the Goron Locket. If you don't have the Goron Locket, you don't have immunity to hot coals, which means that if you do any action that causes you to stand still while standing on these hot coals, you take damage, which is really bad news if you have glass.
I try to throw a bomb chew in there to do some extra damage to Guitarmos Knights. I end up screwing it to Guitarmos Knight. I end up screwing it up. Bomb chew detonated before going into the arena.
Yeah, no big time loss. Just one little extra bit of resource kind of thrown down the drain. But yeah, not a big deal. Pretty smooth fight either way. Yeah, ends up getting the flawless victory.
Both of us going through Lost Woods now.
Yeah, a little bit of a mismenu there as I try to swap back to the glass flail. And yeah, right there, utilizing the fact that if you fully clear a screen of enemies, you get switched to fixed beat movement and can move off the beat. Can save some time if it's quick to kill all the enemies on screen. And we're heading into the Lost Swamp here. Gonna be our last of the 4 main dungeons here. Ultimately, I realize I don't want to use the slab there because that would force me to walk into poison, and it's better to use the crate there to make sure I don't break any glass.
lost swap. Spooty picked up a key in that shop. Since we're both at the same amount of keys, I decide to skip the shop there and just go straight to the exit.
And yeah, I get tripped up by that little tree mimic, break my glass ring, but there was another one in the shop, so I'm just going to take a quick side trip to get it back and make sure my glass stays safe. It's also worth noting that, yeah, the glass ring is a very good pairing with the Boots of Power. Boots of Power don't last too long. All footwear degrades whenever you take a step, and they last for a few hundred steps, which is not as many as it might seem. So it's good to have that. I swapped to the glass slippers there. Glass slippers also give the damage boost, but also immunity to most floor hazards. And like with the weapons, they are protected by the glass ring if I should take damage. They won't break on the first hit. And Goof finishing off Go Maracas there, and going to be the first one onto Hyrule Castle.
It was very quick to take care of Go Maracas with the damage ups I had, and using the spin attack, it will end up dealing a lot of damage to Go Maracas. With Spooty, since he has Glass Flail, he did not use the spin attack as much, but he has Glass Flail and Glass Slippers, so it still went by pretty quickly.
Yeah, could have saved a little bit of time if I remember to use spin attack, but just a couple of beats, so not the end of the world to make that mistake. But yeah, Goof going through Hyrule Castle, a pretty challenging dungeon. The main problem being there's a lot of bow guards that can snipe you from a pretty long ways away. So if you're not careful, you can lose a lot of health and lose equipment, like glass equipment, if you get sniped a lot.
So, we are one key short for Hyrule Castle, so usually the second floor of the shop will have a key, or of the second floor of Hyrule Castle shop will have a key, and I went out of my way for it there. As well as, the spin attack can do knockback, and I end up using it there to knock the Dark Nut into a bottomless pit, take care of it very quickly.
Yeah, another use for the spin attack is as I use it right there. Those portals, you'd never know exactly what's going to be on the other side, so it can be more valuable to can be a good idea to just charge a spin attack as you go through the portal, just to immediately hit anything that might be on the other side. Does carry a little bit of a risk if there's a bomb fair on the other side. It just kind of blows up in your face, but thankfully that's not happening. And I make the swap to the Ring of Piercing there for to deal piercing damage at the cost of having that safety for my glass equipment. So it does carry a little bit of a risk.
Managed to get another set of power boots from that the boss there, as well as a glass spear. And with the spin attack, if you have enough damage, you can use it to one-shot Octavo phases pretty consistently.
And I grab the glass spear as well, just to make sure I have more glass weapons on backup. Yeah, just to remember that I never went and got a base weapon and infused it, so if I lose all of my glass, I'm going to be on pretty low damage, so it's good to have backups. So yeah, spin attacks here, just making quick work of the Octavo cycles. Each of these first 4 phases has 5 health, and spin attack does damage equal to your weapon strength and all of its additives, and you also get +1 damage for each source of damage. So in this case, it's 3 damage from the spear +1, and then 1 damage from the glass slippers plus another one. So these spin attacks are dealing 6 damage, which will even one-shot the final phase here.
Now, this layout's a little interesting. I don't really know what to do here, so I end up just going around. I get a compass, which will show me the direction where the exit is.
Yeah,
that's breaking my glass spear there to mimic a tree.
That compass shows you the location of the exit for all floors in the dungeon, so it's a pretty valuable pickup as long as it's not too far out of your way. And yeah, I take a little bit of a different approach, just throwing bombs into lava. Bombs instantly detonate when hitting lava, and then I can just safely swim across. At this point, I figure it's pretty likely I'm going to take hits, since Future Hyrule is the most dangerous, most difficult part of the game, probably. So I swap to the Boots of Power, which won't break on taking damage. And yeah, my little bomb strat there allowed me to catch up to Goof, and it's a really close race now. Picking up those extra bombs there, because you do want some bombs for the end game. Bombs are very valuable in the Ganon fight.
For Future Hyrule is filled with a lot of high-level enemies, so you gotta be very careful.
Yeah, 8 hearts might seem like it's a lot, but if you get hit by the wrong enemies, all 8 of those hearts could be gone in as few as 3 hits.
Both of us, I get a little confused here. Making my way towards the exit. Spoody just finishing the Future Hyrule dungeon and making his way toward the Ganon fight, and I am not too far behind.
Yeah, unfortunately, your white die there getting frozen by the Wizrobe. Can't attack enemies that are frozen unless you can thaw them out with a fire or explosive damage. So, yeah, a little bit rough there on the finish. Unfortunately, I mistimed the bomb there for the Ganon fight. So I just go for a double bomb there, just to make up for the lost time, and have a pretty fast first cycle. But the second phase is where things can get pretty rough. Ganon speeds up all his attacks. They all have 1 less beat of delay, and they can also he can also summon mini bosses. And yeah, I'm unfortunately getting some unexpected hits from the flail that slow me down quite a bit here, and now I'm out of bombs, so just gotta go for some hits normally. Swap into the glass spear. Spear makes this makes lining up these hits a lot easier.
I also screw up some of the timing with the bombs and lose all of them, so I have to do the fight normally as well.
Get a random sarcophagus spawn there. Those are very dangerous, so I just snipe them out with the bow and arrow. But finish phase 2, thankfully. Yeah, that's the most dangerous part of the fight over with. Now for the final phase, you just gotta free all 3 characters and get them onto these Triforce pedestals. And there it is. There's the finish for me. As Goof gets into the final phase. Lots of Lionels around, throwing arrows everywhere. It's a little scary. Gets pretty low on health, but finishing off right here, and
that is it.
Yeah, Goof finishing the run.
Spoody finishing with a time of 20:03 and me with a 20:22.
So yeah, pretty good run there. Pretty average seed all around, and solid play. Made for a pretty close race. Yeah, as Goof said, 20:03 in-game time for me, and 20:22 for RoyalGoof. So, yeah, very close, within a 19-second difference there. So yeah, pretty good race, and should be a pretty good race if this is selected in AGDQ. I would suggest again checking out the single character Zelda and single character Cadence runs, and if you want to include this as a run, including those 2 as alternatives through a donation war. But that's all we have to say about the single character Link run. So thank you for watching.